Place to be Nation, welcome back to the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I'm your host, Juster Zarek, with you live here in the PTB studios. Joining me as always is my Mr. PIC, Scott Criscullo. Scottathan, how are you?
Al, how are you, everyone? Welcome to episode 648 of the longest running episodic motherfucking gold standard.
Some would say too many.
What's that? What'd you say? Too many?
Nothing. No,
52.
just roll on. Nothing.
You could have retired any time. This isn't Russia. Is it Russia? This isn't Russia. Anyway, good to have you with us, everyone. And we're here for a wonderful evening of wrestling in a wonderful city that everyone was just at.
One we were just in. Yeah. So WrestleMania weekend was great as always. We were all together, you, I, and our guests. So we'll bring it in a moment here, unless you're watching a video, you've already seen it. And I mentioned that because this podcast is simulcast on both audio and video. Audio on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling Podcast Network, of course, is our original home where we've been all these years, all 648 episodes, plus a lot of other great content. And then also on the North-South Connection YouTube channel. This is simulcast on Mondays as well, every other Monday. A lot of good content there. WrestleMania, we had so much stuff. If you're new to this, you haven't seen it, Ryan Gray and myself counted down every WrestleMania match ever, 402 to number one. They're all 60 seconds or less, every single one. And they're on YouTube Shorts, they're on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. And of course, just because WrestleMania is over doesn't mean the content's going to end. All of our great shows that we have on North-South Connection and the PTB Network will continue to run and keep you occupied in the months to come as you get over the WrestleMania hangover, which we all very much have for sure here tonight. But we're with you in spirit and maybe physically as well. All right, so you can see the names on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Of course, only can mean one man is our guest, and that is not the Tool Man. He is our producer of the North-South Connection, producer extraordinaire, the man behind the logos, the man behind the ideas and the StreamYards and the videos and the layouts, and of course, Mr. Tim Taylor. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. As soon as you started saying everything I do, I got very tired all of a sudden. And I don't know why, but I'm good. It's good to be back. I think this is the first time I've been here on the video version of the gold standard. So I'm very happy to have gotten the nod one more time.
And of course, you are the full-time producer of No Holds Barred as well every Saturday here on the North-South Connection. So helping out me and Aaron. He is graphically and technologically challenged, so you pretty much help carry the load for me on that show, which I appreciate.
Jump in my backpack, boys.
You never know what may appear on his walls as well, so check that out every Saturday. All right, our new format here, if you haven't checked us out in a while, we took a break from the old Vintage Vault format. We're here in Macon Towns. And what we do is we bring a guest in. We ask that guest to pick a town and a match that is special to them for some specific reason. Once they reveal that town, we go through some history, the week that was in wrestling, the week that was in pop culture, and then we talk about the town itself, and then we live watch the match as a group. So we're going to do all that here tonight, so stay with us. Promise it'll be a fun ride. And Mr. Taylor, what is the town you picked for us?
Well, I would have loved to have picked many a town, but we were just there in the city of brotherly love. So I figured, why not go back to where we just were, and let's set up Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
It's a good choice. It was perfect for this weekend. It all timed out wonderfully to have you here. Of course, you are Philadelphia adjacent.
Yes.
And not all of us can pick Hampton. We know that. So
I know. He beat me to it.
He did, crazy enough. All right, so why did you pick Philly besides just being there? Is there any other special personal reasons, or is it really just because we were there and you thought it'd be perfect for this weekend?
I think that's exactly what it is. It's like there's so much history that's caked in and baked into Philadelphia wrestling. So as much as it is fun to talk about the present, in order to appreciate the present a little more, you have to acknowledge its past. And the match I picked for us tonight is kind of foreshadowing of what we just watched at WrestleMania, right? Especially for night one. So I'm very excited to get through this and watch this. It's a couple of my all-time favorites, lock horns.
Okay, well, the show is going to be Halloween Havoc 1989. We'll save the match for a little bit here. So that means we're in the week of October 23rd, 89 to October 29th, 89. Scott, why don't you take us back to that week and tell us what was going on in the live wrestling world? The house shows, TV shows, what else did we have going on during this week?
All right. Well, It was a very busy day.
Saturday.
It was a Saturday.
I was surprised that this was a Saturday pay-per-view. I thought it was
I know, right? So obviously there was no Crockett because they were all in Philly. So another full, and just like 2 weeks ago, JR, when we had Sean on, 4 shows on this Saturday. 4 shows. One of them you and I watched. I'll leave that one last. So our first show at the Civic Center in Glens Falls, New York. Yes, we'll be in Duggan Country. So here's the card. It's a matinee. So, in fact, both these cards are matinees. These first 2 are matinees. Tito Santana defeated Al Perez. The Brooklyn Brawler took on Question Mark. It's probably a local jobber.
Maybe it was Bertie Lomax again, like 2 years ago.
Bertie Lomax, right? Bertie Lomax or Don Driggers from the other. Oh God! For those that haven't watched it, check out the show 2 weeks ago, the past episode with me, Jr. and Sean Kidd, as we were trying to go through these dreadful shows from July of '87. Ronnie Garvin and Greg Valentine, because in '89 that feud was heating up and actually had some great house show matches. Sam Houston took on Bad News Brown. Your World Tag Team Champions, Demolition, took on the Brain Busters at the end of their run. Dusty Rhodes took on the Big Boss Man. And the Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper, took on Rick Rude. That was probably the main event. Not a bad little show in Glens Falls. Started off a little slow, but picked up at the end there. Second show, JR, is right in yours and my backyard. It was a matinee. It was the Civic Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. I have a note here. It says the scheduled main
Generation X.
That's right. Absolutely. I think that's the only thing ever there. Sure. Well, it's probably some Raws and stuff, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely the only pay-per-view there.
Definitely the only pay-per-view there. The scheduled main event went on first, as many of the wrestlers were not yet at the arena because their plane from Detroit was not scheduled to arrive until 1:50. The matinee was originally set for 1, but was pushed back to 2:30. The early matches were stalled out to kill time and to allow the rest of the talent to arrive. The scheduled Jake Roberts versus Ted DiBiase bout never took place. So there you go.
I guess Jake was back already, right? From the legal troubles. That was like earlier, I think, in the spring and summer.
Yeah, I think so too. This match was 23 minutes. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, at this point, he was probably Macho King, and Jim Duggan. Sherry continued to use the loaded purse. That match is 23 minutes. So all these matches went long. Oh my God, I feel bad for these people. The Bushwhackers defeated the Powers of Pain via DQ in 2010.
That is like a Coliseum special. Like that's one of those matches they hype up on like Coliseum fan favorites. Tim from Hershey picks Bushwhackers to take on the Powers of Pain or the Bolsheviks, whatever.
Oh my God. Are you ready for this? This match was a 20-minute draw. Nikolai Volkov and Jose Luis Rivera.
Oh no.
Wow. That fucking plane. I bet you that match was supposed to be like 4 minutes. It ended up being 20 minutes.
Jose Luis Rivera.
Mr. Perfect pinned Jimmy Snuka in about 17 minutes. Bret Hart fought Tim Horner to a no contest when the match was stopped after Horner sustained an injury and collapsed 4 minutes into the bout. Hercules pinned Akeem, a main event anywhere.
That's definitely a Coliseum video match.
Oh, yeah, totally. And in the main event, your Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, defeated Dino Bravo by countout.
It's a rough card in Springfield. Yeah, that would be definitely young Justin from West Warwick chooses Hercules versus Akeem.
Totally. All right. Show number 3 from the Municipal Auditorium in Sioux City, Iowa. Tugboat versus Barry Horowitz. That could be a Coliseum video. Actually, I think almost all of these would be. Red Rooster against the Honky Tonk Man. Jim Neidhart versus Haku. Paul Roma versus the Genius. The Rockers versus the Rougeaus. That's actually a pretty good match. Brutus Beefcake versus Rick Martel. And your main event was the main event that Springfield was supposed to have, but instead they get a 20-minute Jose Luis Rivera Nikolai Volkov match. Jake Roberts and Ted DiBiase. Yeah, bought the sound of that too. And finally, a show that we did here on the Mothership. It was an episode probably in the 300s or 400s. Madison Square Garden, New York City, October 28th, 1989. Of course, you and I watched the show and did an episode with it. 89. Maybe Kelly, probably. Gorilla and Hillbilly on commentary. Included Mooney. Sean Mooney conducting backstage interviews with Mr. Perfect, the Bushwhackers, Andre the Giant, and Bobby Heenan prior to their matches. Included Mooney conducting separate interviews with Jim Duggan and Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry about their rematch. That would be on the 11/25 MSG card with 2 referees signed for the match. Okay. All these matches, JR did play-by-play. Tito Santana.
PTSD night here on the PTB podcast.
Tito Santana pinned Boris Zukov, who subbed for Barry Windham at 12:46.
Wait, what was the date of this again? The exact date?
October 28th, 1989.
Right,
so the night of this,
grades. I'm gonna pull up my grades as we go.
All right, pull up both our grades actually. Obviously, so both big promotions were very close to each other. This show was in Philly, and MSG or WWF was at the Garden. So obviously couldn't do both at the same time, but had to flip a coin. So you have Tito Santana pinning Boris Zhukov, who was subbing for Barry Windham at 12:46 with the Flying Burrito. As
that was a 2-star match.
Okay. Al Perez pinned Conquistador #1, Jose Luis Rivera, at 10:15.
1-star match.
A spinning crucifix powerbomb. It was Al Perez's MSG debut.
Garbage.
Bret Hart fought Dino Bravo to a 20-minute draw.
Ugh.
At 18:22, a minute
2.5 on that one.
2.5. Brooklyn Brawler pinned Jose Luis Rivera, subbing for Tim Horner at 7:34. So yes, I remember this show.
Tim Horner died on the earlier card, so
apparently
we had to replace him.
So
half a star for this gem.
Yeah, we had Jose Luis Rivera was a whopping 0 for 3 on this day in wrestling history. Randy Savage pinned Jim Duggan at 16:04 after Sherry held Savage's leg on the ropes for leverage.
3
after
stars
the bout,
that one.
Duggan cleared Savage from the ring with the 2x4. Your match of the night, I bet you this was 5 stars. Hercules defeated Akeem via count out at 11:19 after Akeem fell to the floor when Hercules ducked the clothesline.
1.5 stars, and I'm sure they ran that same match in Springfield a few hours earlier.
A few hours before. Mr. Perfect pinned Jimmy Snuka at 10:36 with the Perfect Flex.
2.5 for that.
2.5. I assume that we both probably did 2.5 for that. The Ultimate Warrior, your Intercontinental Champion, pinned Andre the Giant after a matter of seconds with 3 clotheslines and a splash. No bell could be heard to start the match, and Warrior's music never stopped playing after his entrance. Prior to the bout, Bobby Heenan was ordered backstage by a count of 10, or he would be suspended after the bout. Andre grabbed the microphone, protesting the decision to referee Danny Davis, saying there was no bell rung to start the match, so how could he make a 3 count? It was Andre's only pinfall loss ever at Madison Square Garden.
Wow. And that was a NA. We didn't grade that one. I think it was.
Yeah, that must have been. Yeah, that was probably a big mess.
It's a Jordan Duncan special right there.
There it is. Yes, it is. And Scott from Connecticut picked this for his Coliseum special. The Bushwhackers defeated the Powers of Pain in this match at disqualification at 7:55 when Fuji interfered and hit Luke with the cane. After the bout, Butch cleared the pop from the ring with the cane after Fuji dropped it when fleeing the ring.
2 stars.
Yeah. So that was what was going on at the Garden at the same time that Mr. Taylor's show that he chose this evening was in Philadelphia. Probably would have taken Halloween Havoc. I hate to
For
say
sure.
What do we grade the show overall, JR?
I don't know. I only have my match grades here.
Okay.
So
I'll look. I'll pop up and see what we did. I'm curious what we gave that show overall. So, anyway, that was your wrestling day, October 28th, 1989, on the circuit. All WWF, obviously, because all of Crockett was in Philly. So, what other juicy tidbits in 1989 do we have, JR?
All right, we got 2 installments of the Wrestling Observer, courtesy of our good friend, Mr. Scott Keith, who's been nice to have him back in the fold. He's been doing some video work for us here at the North South. You can check him out in the countdown series that we did leading up to WrestleMania. He's been on a couple of Chronosos as well. Ryan Gray uncovers every stone possible in the world of wrestling out there to bring in celebrities high and low for him low is relative,
Yes.
but high and low for our work in the North-South Connection. All right, Wrestling Observer flashback, October 23rd, 89, courtesy of Scott Keith. Antonio Inoki had another chapter to his legend this week. He made a public appearance at a concert, and a mental patient jumped on the stage and slashed him with a knife from ear to throat. He rushed away by medical staff, but apparently wasn't as bad of a throat slashing as it initially appeared, and he actually returned later to give his original scheduled speech to the crowd. So there you go. Dave's review here of Saturday night's main event that happened this past weekend. Randy Savage defeated Jimmy Snuka. Savage did his usual stellar job carrying the dead weight to something decent, 2.5 stars. Hulk Hogan beat Ted DiBiase to retain the total at 8 minutes after Zeus's interference backfired. They're actively trying to erase the pinfall loss at SummerSlam. Dave warns those of you who order the show to purge the results of the main event from your mind before Vince does it for you. Decent match. Hogan was slow and lethargic, 2 stars. Piper beat Haku in 3 minutes, nothing special, 1.5 stars. Rick Martel and Tito Santana with the double DQ in a Survivor Series hype match at 8:40. Both teams got involved for a schmoz. This was pretty great for a TV match, the closest thing we got to a pay-per-view blow-off of Strikeforce. Tito wore the tights for another 3 years anyway, 3.5 stars. Bushwhackers beat the Rougeaus. Biggest high spot of the match was the Rougeaus lip-syncing their entrance music, 0.5 star. Dave thinks Halloween Havoc will do the lowest buy rate of the year, especially without a world title match on top. If the tag title match was stronger, it would have a shot at doing better, but no one's taking the Freebird seriously, and no one takes the Dude seriously as challengers. In fact, the Clash 9 card that'll air 2 weeks later on TV looks like stronger show on paper. The Flair versus Funk and Midnights versus Dudes blow-offs. Dave feels like Survivor Series won't do well either, especially without any kind of particularly focused main event storyline. It's on Thanksgiving, which is a great night for going out to watch wrestling, but not staying in to watch it on pay-per-view. The 3rd annual King of the Ring stunk up Providence this week as Tito Santana won after Barry Windham no-showed what was likely his tournament to win. The redone field saw Akeem over Beefcake Hercules, double disqualification with the Anvil, Warlord over Butch, Santana over Bad News, Martel over Jobber Bill Woods, Luke over Nikolai Volkov, Haku over the Red Rooster, Snook over Barbarian. Santana then beat Warlord, Martel over Luke, Snook over Haku. The 3rd round was Santana over Akeem and Martel over Snuka, and Santana beat Martel in the finals. Dave is hopeful for complete results with all the screw jobs and crap finishes in the next installment. Last week, Jerry Lawler put over Green Rookie the Soul Taker in non-title matches to build him up as Memphis's version of Zeus. It turns out that wasn't a hot business move. It's the same match drew a $2,000 house on October 9th in Memphis, our record low all time. Fans barely even reacted to the total squashing of Lawler, which lasted 10 minutes. It was atrocious. Memphis is running all kinds of special promotions to get kids back to the shows, promising special sections where you can bring as many kids as you want for free with no booze or salty language, which will result to immediate ejection. We'd be in trouble for our group for sure. PG era Memphis. Anyway, Dave explains the kids used to pack Mid-South in the early 80s when all of the rock and rolls were hot, but now they moved up to the major leagues or just moved past wrestling altogether. The Punisher won his first The Punisher won his first title in the USWA, taking advantage of our boy Eric Embry, Scott. And this was, I actually meant to bring this up in our last episode because this is a pretty infamous angle. I remember this all throughout PWI covering it intensively. Eric Embry was blinded by ammonia to win the Texas title by forfeit. Rookie Steve Williams, the student of Chris Adams, not Dr. Death, we know who that would go on to be, got his first win in the sport, defeating Sheik Braddock by DQ. I feel like if they match the Punisher with Steve Williams' kid and put it on TV on Monday nights, they may have something, as long as they don't run the same match 800 times afterward. So there you go. Eric Embry, blinded by ammonia. Pretty famous angle. Yes. Dave doesn't seem particularly hyped for WrestleRec 89, but I bet if Embry booked a show where everyone did roller derby before the matches, he'd lose his mind. Orndorff has confirmed he's coming out of retirement to work some indies. Everyone is deserting the CWF right now, including stars like Wendell Cooley and Jerry Stubbs. After Ron Fuller and David Woods broke up was the end of the promotion. WWF is having trouble selling tickets to the next Saturday's main event. The main event is Hogan versus Genius. Bob Orton is working house shows as a sub for Hillbilly Jim. He'll be interviewing for a job in Kansas, which of course will go nowhere. TV tapings outside that have WWF signs saying if you bring in banners that interfere with our equipment or say derogatory things, we'll reserve the right to confiscate them. People are gaming the system by wearing obvious NWA t-shirts to WWF tapings, so WWF will give out free shirts to the people in the first few rows. Pretty smart. David Sammartino is getting a job with the NWA. It was never David Sammartino getting a job in the NWA was never part of the deal with Bruno doing the referee gig at Havoc. And finally, Dave notes that Jesus Christ with an Etch-a-Sketch couldn't draw for the NWA right now. There's no clear direction for the product under Flair's booking regime other than a vague Flair versus Muta feud. And just wait till Starrcade when things get worse. All right, so that's the 1023 edition. I'll pause there. Any thoughts running through your minds after hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, 89, it's funny because everybody loves 89 as a year in wrestling, but I don't know why that Keith didn't like the booking for, I mean, I understand Flair wasn't the best, but I mean, you know, Muta, Sting was being elevated. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I do remember the Eric Embry angle, though. That was pretty wild. So I looked up just quickly. That house show, I don't know when it aired. I saw when we taped it. Tim Slomka was our guest for that show. Savage Duggan was the match of the night. Rivera Brawler, the Cousin Junior Award. Remember that? The Cousin Junior Award. Warrior won the Andre the Giant Award. Brooklyn Brawler won the Bolshevik Award. The best moment was when Warrior pinned Andre. The Warlord Award. I think that was the most juiced, right? Yeah. You and I picked Hercules. Tim picked Warrior. The Rooster Award for, I'm assuming that was for best hair.
Worst
I think
hair.
that was.
Worst hair.
You worst hair. You and I had Brawler, and Tim had Snuka. We had a Hercules Award, which I don't remember. But that must have started later. You gave that a 3.5. I gave it a 3. So after hearing the card, now I remember why.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Anyway, yeah,
Tim, any thoughts on that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? No, I just want to say, what are your thoughts, Tim, on the whole 89 thing? I mean, Flair wasn't the best, but I mean, I always said 89 was one of my favorite years in wrestling. So I mean, I think it was that bad.
Right. I think it's something that actually probably got smiled on more as time went on. You know, it may have been something that was, because my fandom doesn't really kick in until a little bit later. But even then, like, I'm sure that it was probably something that grew as time went on, and you know, the feud between Flair and Funk becomes more legendary as it goes along, right? I mean, also, like, Crockett at the time, they're coming off the heels of Flair Steamboat, which is hard to top anyways. Mm-hmm. And so you're transitioning that into something new. I'm sure anything less would be too civilized, as somebody else would like to say it at a certain point. But that whole news spread, starting with the dude getting cut from like ear to ear.
Fucking Inoki. I don't remember that at all. That's crazy.
Oh no, I couldn't. No, I wouldn't have given I would have given it to somebody who's like, hey, can you blow this up and put it up on the screen? Like, just get like a transparency machine and just broadcast my notes up and just have somebody else read it. I just got stabbed. I'm not doing anything.
That's crazy.
All right, let's go to the next week, October 30th. Of course, it's the big week in history. And Scott, I'm sure you're going to touch on this in the pop culture corner. Mm-hmm. A major occurrence in the United States happened that derailed a major sporting event. Tim, do you recall?
I do think so.
I know you know, Tim. Scott.
Okay.
Is this the earthquake during the World Series?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
San Francisco earthquake postponed the World Series, billions of dollars in damage. But more importantly, it meant Dave Meltzer temporarily lost his usual telegraph service, or however he was getting info in 1989. Putting these things on the typewriter. So it's going to be a slow news week from old Uncle Dave. And as a result, the World Series game that was postponed got moved head-to-head with Halloween Havoc. So I'm sure that affected the buy rate as well.
Yep. Extortion
trial for Leah Maivia began this week in Hawaii. Basically, defendants are telling completely different stories, claiming the voice the police have on tape, where Maivia's associate basically calls and threatens to kill the defendant and his family if they don't pay $5,000 to get out of promoting on the island, is forgery. Meanwhile, Maivia is continuing on with a PR campaign to save her image, promoting a show where the proceeds go to fight drug abuse on the island. And Scott says, I feel like Kerry Von Erich should be involved in the storyline. The LA Coliseum is still the leading candidate for WrestleMania 6, but don't count out Toronto yet. For those like myself, anxiously awaiting the Roller Games news, here you go. The company that bankrolls syndication for the new Roller Games show has already filed bankruptcy. Dave goes into a discussion on the problems of the NWA. 1 year into his new World Championship Wrestling company, Ted Turner is losing millions. Dave runs down 4 options: either stay the course, cut the losses, go back to regional, or throw a shitload of money and go head-to-head with WWF once and for all. We all know Richard eventually proved to be the most successful, but Ric Flair has no direction or goal as a booker right now, and they need a change. An update on Antonio Inoki. After he was stabbed a lot worse than the pro-Inoki media was trying to pass off, he suffered a deep 6-centimeter long gash on his neck, lost 2,000 cc of blood, and was ordered home for a month to recover. It's insane.
That is insane.
Atsushi Onita's wacky new FMW promotion appears to be a hit. He's now lured Tarzan Goto and Dick Murdoch to the circus and drew sellout crowds this week. Gimmicks like Boat People Joe, Monkey Magic Wakita, and the Sambo Kid. You know what's not a success? The Blackheart's gimmick in Stampede. They've now fired both guys playing the role, and they're looking for new ones to be under the mask. And these are the tag team champions. Afonseca running a card in Philly in opposition to WF coming up with the main event of themselves against, Big John Studd versus Junkyard Dog. So how about that in October of 89?
I'll take that in October of 84. I don't know about October of 89. That's awful. Oof.
Dr. Jonathan Holliday went to the police and snitched out Jerry Morrow and Dynamite Kid as the guys who beat him to a pulp in the dressing room. Man, if you made a handbook of everything you could do wrong to ensure a career in our sport, Holliday could write the forward. Angel Acevedo is the new booker in Puerto Rico. He's a former Cuban assassin. So apparently all the Stampede guys are abandoning ship. Akira Maeda is the last person to put together a fight with Mike Tyson. He'll have to get in line behind Bam Bam Bigelow. TBS has ordered a stop to all blood on NWA, be it TV, pay-per-view, or house shows. Dave talks about how TBS is sending someone to do a piece on Friar Tormenta, the priest who wrestles in Mexico to fund an orphanage. And of course, as you know, that would actually end up being a movie. Nacho Libre.
Nacho.
Referee Joey Morello was in a car accident that ruptured his spleen. This poor bastard. His first car accident ruptured his spleen. He's in critical condition. He would survive that one. Sadly, not the next one. Barry Windham was mysteriously pulled from booking sheets for 2 straight weeks with no explanation. Coca Beware is fired during the European tour after getting into a fight at a bar. That story is actually in Bret Hart's book. It's a fact. The Rockers were also fired on the tour, but rehired the next day. And finally, apparently, there's some obscure law in the books in England where you can't stage a wrestling match between 2 people from non-Commonwealth countries. So they have had to book a bunch of British indie geeks to grease the commission. There you go. That's it for the Dave Meltzer notes for this week. Any final thoughts?
I didn't know that British wrestling politics was so extreme. I just thought that was all in Japan.
Greasing the skids.
Greasing them up.
Greasing them up.
It's like it's the British version of Sweet Bruce Pritchard taking the fire marshal and having him take a walk and show him the lay of the land, and maybe we're gonna do something stupid. Who knows? It's like, you got 12 working bums in England. Bring them in. We'll split them up.
That's what it comes down to.
I'll tell you this: the one thing I wish we would need someone to cover here. We need someone to pick Memphis, and we need to watch this Eric Embry Ammonia match. I think that's high on my list now. I got to track down the right person. If you're watching this and you want to do that match, let me know, because Eric Embry in this feud was definitely missing his vision, and he probably missed it much. Just like Janet Jackson, will be missing you much. As Miss You Much is the #1 song in the nation this week in 1989. Brings us to Scott Criscolo's Vintage Pop Culture Corner.
Thank you, JR. We are in, of course, the weekend of October 28th, 1989. Janet's Miss You Much. Miss You Much. Great song, actually. This is actually pretty good. This is a pretty good top 10. At number 2, Sowing the Seeds of Love by Tears for Fears. Great song.
On the seeds of love.
Sowing the seeds. Number 3, from the movie Pretty Woman, Roxette, Listen to Your Heart. Number 4, New Kids on the Block, NKOTB. No, not that one. Cover Girl. Not that one. Cover Girl.
Tim, rank me all the top Roxette songs in order. Top 3.
Really have 3?
Hit me on the next one.
Scott, top 3 Roxette songs.
Listen to Your Heart.
Go. Come on.
Listen to Your Heart.
Joyride.
Joyride. And what was the third one?
Come on.
Listen to Your Heart.
You can do it. There's a third big song. Actually, there's 2 more. There's 3 more. She has a lot.
Roxette.
Don't look it up.
Joyride.
I'm looking it up.
Look it up. All right. Anyway, at number 5,
all right, it's Joyride. And hang on, I had it right here. All right, here we go. The Look is a great song.
Oh, she got the look. I remember that. Yep.
Dangerous is a great song.
Oh, it is a good song.
Little bit dangerous.
Yes.
And Listen to Your Heart is a really good song. So there you go.
Yes, no, all great songs. I forgot about Joyride. I mean, I like Dangerous. Dangerous is actually a really good.
Dangerous. It Must Have Been Love. Listen to Your Heart and The Look. I mean, that's 4 big ones right there.
Oh, maybe Must Have Been Love was Pretty Woman. Maybe they were both Pretty Woman. Oh, you know what? Must Have Been Love.
No. That's Pretty Woman. Listen to Your Heart's Look Sharp on the album.
Yeah,
but yeah, right. Pretty Woman album was Must Have Been Love.
Must Have Been Love. You're right. At number 5, from an awesome album that came out in 1989, Love in an Elevator by Aerosmith from Pump. Wow, another great album that came out in 1989, Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue from Dr. Feelgood. It's No Crime by Babyface at number 7. Bust a Move by Young MC at number 8. When I See You Smile by Bad English at number 9. And an awesome song, probably close to my favorite by this guy, Rock With Ya by Bobby Brown. We got to rank Bobby Brown songs. Rock With Ya, It's My Prerogative. Not Tenderoni. What the heck was that? Tenderoni is Michael Jackson. The other song that's got Roni in the title.
You had for dinner at the October night to Columbus.
You're meant to Tenderoni. No. Yeah, Rock With Ya by Bobby Brown at number 10. So pretty good, solid top 10 for 1989 as we are heading into the end of the decade. All right, so we go from the radio to the movies, and we will see what was in theaters. 1989, folks, was a pretty awesome year for movies, particularly if you're a sci-fi, superhero, action adventure junkie. This top 10, though, well, this top, I guess, 14, not the best here, though. I would say probably earlier in the year would have been better. This is when it kind of fizzled out. So I'm going to do the 11 through 14 because those movies were actually better than some of the ones in the top 10. At number 14 was Do the Right Thing. Little Spike Lee action.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Number 13, When Harry Met Sally.
Classic.
Great. Yes. At number 12, in my personal opinion, the greatest superhero movie of all time, and that Michael Keaton's first Batman, number 12. Number 11,
I believe that was a prequel to The Flash, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for those that have been watching.
That was a bad joke. It was. You guys took it way too seriously. I was being facetious.
No, I know. It was. Yes. And he was supposed to do another movie after. It was supposed to be a prequel to Batwoman or whatever he was supposed to be in before even The Flash. Number 11, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
Halloween
all right,
5,
top 10.
More Halloweening.
Number 10, Worth Winning. Never heard of it. Number 9, Immediate Family. Never heard of it. Number 8, The Fabulous Baker Boys with the Bridges brothers and Michelle Pfeiffer. Number 7, Gross Anatomy. Feel that's familiar. It's a Disney movie, according to the distributor. But number 6, great Michael Douglas movie, Black Rain. He plays a cop that goes to Tokyo to infiltrate the Yakuza. Great movie. I think Andy Garcia is in that too. Number 5, Sea of Love. Al Pacino and what's her name? The one that's on that show on TNT, Ellen Barkin. Number 3, The Bear. I think Robin Williams is in that. I wish. I think Robin Williams is in that. Number 2, Shocker, which I don't know off the top of my head.
That is one horror movie I have seen.
Shocker? Really? Oh my God. I couldn't remember it. That's
good old Mike Filthwall McKenna maybe watch it back in like
yes, Filthwall. Yes. I bet you when people were heckling it, he said, "You get out of here, you sore losers." Awesome. Rest in peace, Filthwall. And number 1.
You know what he liked? Was with a snack when they go. So we'd always play the remote control. Remember the MTV show? They had a computer game, remote control. I remember it very vividly. We sat up in his room, play remote control, and he would make popcorn and put Italian salad dressing on it. And I haven't done it since, and it was delicious. I remember like we'd eat that, play remote control, And then my favorite football, and I'm only telling these guys because he was unfortunately murdered. My only friend to be murdered about 15 years ago. But I was at his house one day, and his mom was on like a business call or something, some important phone call. And he goes and puts on one of her dresses, and he mimics. He does like the Wayne from Wayne's World with Tia Korea's on like doing the meeting or whatever, and he sings Happy Birthday, Mr. President or whatever, and he's dancing with and he's doing that to his mom, and she's on the. I'm fucking dying. She was so pissed, but it was amazing. So my favorite football memory.
God, I wish I was able to meet him. God, I love that. The stories are great, and everything I see. That's a shame. The number one movie of the weekend. I guess you could call this Renaissance number one for John Travolta. Look Who's Talking. Kind of brought him back after some shitty movies in the mid 80s. Then he kind of pooped out again, and then he came back 5 years later with
Michael.
With Michael.
Oh yeah,
Michael. Movie's horrible.
That is a my mom classic. That's a mom Mount Rushmore right there.
The other one I think of is Phenomenon. That's the other John Travolta movie I think of when I think of Michael. It's the same kind of movie. Of course, I'm speaking of Pulp Fiction. Anyway, so there were your movies for 1989 in the fall. Not great. I wish we did Tim, you should have picked a match from like May. It would have been a much better list of movies.
That's another great.
I'll work on it next time. I'll try to do better next time.
Let's get some the comeback, Scott. That's another big mouse. The comeback kid at age 42 is the number one movie in America.
That's right. All right. Well, we're on the radio. We're in the theater. And now we take the field.
Ready?
Yep. All right.
There we go.
So,
all right. Well, here's our standings.
You are the lucky one. All right.
Here's our standings. So, we've done this 3 times so far in this reboot, and I am down by 1. Chad and I tied the first episode at 9, and then I lost to Jordan. I tied with Steve Riddle 10-10, and lost to Jordan 8-7. So it is 26-25.
All right. So we are in week 8 of the 1989 NFL season. Your defending world champions are the San Francisco 49ers. All right. So we begin. Well, why don't I do this first? Before we do that, I'll mention what JR mentioned earlier. Let me get this out of the way. On this night was the 4th and deciding game of the 1989 World Series at Candlestick Park. The Oakland A's completed the 4-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants to win the 1 world title of the 3 years that they should have won 3 in a row and they didn't. And of course the World Series took like 12 days off because of the Northridge earthquake that shook Candlestick like crazy. The A's won the A's won the first 2 games in Oakland, and then it was a Tuesday night I'll never forget. Game 3 at Candlestick, and then they were in the middle of a replay. And you hear Al Michaels screaming, "We're having an earthquake!" And then, of course, the bridge collapsed and all that kind of stuff. So,
and then John Tensa came walking in.
He did. So there you go. So, all right, we begin at Rich Stadium.
Hang on, you said this is the 28th.
It is week 8, so it is the next day.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming this is the same week we did on PTB.
Yeah.
Back on July 15th of 2019. I got 9. I tied Slomko with 9. So let's see how I do. I have no clue. I would not have even thought of this in half a decade now. So
this is awesome. All right, here we go.
Let's see how I do.
All right. We begin at Rich Stadium in Buffalo, where the Bills host the Miami Dolphins, JR.
Okay. Bills are getting there, not quite there. Miami has Marino. I'm going with Miami.
Okay. Tim?
I'm going against the grain. I'm taking Buffalo.
Marino did throw for 255, but Thurman Thomas rushed for $148. Bills win 31-17.
I need someone to go listen to that episode and listen to this and see if I say the same stupid fucking logic on all those picks.
Bills are not quite there yet, Chris Burns.
Someone's going to line them up and listen.
All right. We go to Soldier Field in Chicago. Speaking of Slumka, you probably got this one right. The Bears host the Los Angeles Rams, Tim.
Going with the home team, Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bears.
Jim Everett rushed threw for $185, but Bears win 20-10. We go to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Bengals host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, JR.
All right, Bengals, this is a little good stretch before the bad stretch again, so I'm going to take Cincinnati at home.
Okay.
I'll take Cincinnati as well.
All right. Vinny Testaverde threw for $336 for the Bucks, but not good enough. Not even close. Bengals 56.
Jeez.
Bucks 23. Brooks rushed for $131. Tim McGee 127 yards receiving. We go to the dog pound.
Hey, Tim McGee worked the house show that night after the game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Opened up against the brawler. Yeah.
Yes. From the dog pound in Cleveland, the Browns host the Houston Oilers, Tim.
I'm going to go Oilers.
Okay, JR.
I'll take the Browns at home.
Bertie Kosar throws for $262. Browns win 28-17.
Yeah.
We go to the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. The Colts hosting the New England Patriots. JR.
A putrid fucking game in 1989.
Pretty much.
I'll take the Colts at home.
Okay. Tim?
I will also take the Colts.
Steve Grogan, linebacker roll and all, threw for $355. Patriots win in overtime, 23-20. We go to Texas Stadium in Irving, where the Cowboys host the Phoenix Cardinals. Tim?
I cannot take the Cowboys in any sense of the word ever. Let me go with the Phoenix Cardinals.
And I know this isn't like the real bad Cowboys year, but I know it's in here. I'll take the Cardinals too in this one.
This was the bad Cowboys year. This was the year they went 1-15, and this was not the one. Cardinals win 19-10. Lambeau Field in Green Bay. The Packers host the Detroit Lions. JR.
I'll take Detroit.
Okay.
I'm going to go Green Bay.
Barry rushed for $184. Don Mikowski, the Magic Man, threw for $367. Packers win in overtime, 23-20.
Stupid.
We go to the Metrodome. Not the Metrodome, sorry. The Superdome. I pulled a Hogan there. The Superdome in New Orleans. The Saints host the Atlanta Falcons. Tim.
I'm gonna go with the Birds.
Okay.
But the hell Steve Bennett would need him. I was watching this game with my grandmother. I remember when I was lunch that afternoon. This is a famous game as a Saints fan. I'll take the Falcons as well.
All right. You should have listened to Steve Bennett. Saints win 20-13. Have a gabagool with my grandmother. Let's go to Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Steelers host the Kansas City Chiefs. JR.
Oh, this is such a weird stretch of football. I'll take the Chiefs.
Okay.
I can't pick against my boy's favorite team. Let me go Kansas City.
Well, Steve DeBerg threw for $338. Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, rushed for 101 yards. But the Steelers win, 23-17. We go to Three Rivers.
Means the Berg if you translate.
The Berg. Dirty Bird. Let's go to Mile High Stadium in Denver. The Broncos host the Philadelphia Eagles, Tim.
We're in Philly. Let's be in Philly, baby.
Okay.
I'll take Elway at home.
John Elway threw for $278, but the Eagles win 28-24. We go to Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands, where the 49ers, the defending world champions, take on the JETS Jets. JR.
Confidently take the San Francisco 49ers in this game.
I will also confidently take the 49ers as well.
49ers 23, Jets 10. Let's go to the Mausoleum, the Coliseum out in LA. The Raiders host the Washington Commandskins. Tim.
Let's go Commandos.
All right, I'll take the Raiders at home.
Mark Rippon threw for 364.
Hell
Bo
yeah.
rushed for $144. Raiders win 37-24.
The Raiders.
Son of a bitch.
So this was the soft
stumbling, bumbling.
This was the soft spot between Doug Williams out and Mark Rippon in. When everybody hated Mark Rippon pretty much until 1990, until 2 years later. Let's go to the Kingdome in Seattle. The Seahawks hosting the San Diego Chargers, JR.
I hate 80s Seahawks. Like, I don't know if they were good or not. I can never pick year to year. I feel like they're just always 8-8 forever in the stretch. And it's all a coin flip. I'll take Seattle at home, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll take the San Diego Thunder Chickens.
The Thunder Chickens. Dave Craig threw for 311. Seahawks win 10-7. He threw for 300 yards and only scored 10 points. It's weird. And Monday night, back at the Meadowlands, the other tenant, the New York Football Giants, host the Minnesota Vikings. Tim.
Gotta go with the G-Men.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a Monday night. LT running hot on coke, no doubt, after all day binge fest. And I'll say he destroyed whoever's quarterbacking at this point.
Yes, it was Tommy Kramer. I think this was like Herschel Walker's like second start for the Vikings after the Cowboys pretty much robbed them. 68 yards rushing, but the Giants win 24-14.
All right, so final score, Mr. Toolman, 8-8. So 1 point less than 5 years ago. If anyone wants to go back and listen, let me know, because I am curious if I got the same.
I am curious if they're the exact same, like 8 that you actually got right and only missed one, or you actually, that's crazy.
If it's different. So we'll see. All right. Well, there you go. That was fun.
There you go. Not too bad.
You good? Any other notes here?
And nope, I just wanted to again mention that this was, of course, the night that the A's concluded their 3-game sweep of the Giants to win the World Series because of the earthquake. So, and that is it for your Pop Culture Corner.
All right, so we're going to head forward. Not really. We're going to stay in the same spot, I guess. Halloween Havoc, 1989. The match we're watching here in this one. And, I make all these little fucking things, Tim. You're supposed to produce me. I had this one for Pop Culture. I had this one to Take the Field. And I got too much going on. I keep forgetting to put them up. But I'm going to put them up now so everyone can see. This. I had this. Take the Field.
Take the Field.
Now we'll put this one up. Our match is Sting and Ric Flair versus the Great Muta and Terry Funk. We do have some notes from our buddy Steve Riddle about wrestling in Philly and this match, but I say we start because the whole thing is about a half hour. So why don't we get going, and then we can kind of talk through these notes as we're going through the intro here. So we're all paused up on the clock at 2:20:30. Halloween Havoc 1989. We're gonna get started in 3, 2, 1, play. All right. So as the cage lowers, we're gonna, like I said, courtesy of Steve Riddle, read through some notes here. Philadelphia is one of WWE's primary stops. Of course, they'd run monthly shows at the Spectrum. NWA ran regular shows at the Civic Center. And to date, before this year's WrestleMania, there's been 16 pay-per-views. I'm sorry, actually, including this year's WrestleMania, there's been 16 pay-per-views in Philly, Mr. Toolman. Would you like to take a stab at any of these?
Sheesh. Well, obviously, WrestleMania 15 is in Philly.
Yeah.
There's a Royal Rumble in Philly, famously. That's the Roman Reigns one.
That is Rumble. There's actually 3 Rumbles. There's 3 Rumbles in Philly.
Okay.
That's 2015 you're referencing, though. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other. There's a Slamboree in Philly.
Well, these are WWE pay-per-views. We'll get to those in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm running into a literal brick wall.
All right, Scott.
Well, obviously the first one is SummerSlam 1990.
The one that, of course, Fritz von Erich famously watched at Iron Claw.
Yep, that's right.
Live in the afternoon. Yes.
Yes. On Thanksgiving.
As Muta puts out a fire with the mist.
Sorry,
I love the Halloween decorations around the cage. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
I have caught fire because of the electrification of the top of the cage.
I'm going to say, one of the most infamously awful pay-per-views ever, the 1995 King of the Ring. That's.
I'm glad I forgot that. Thank you.
A show that Greg Diener and I did on Wrestle Tracks, In Your House Mind Games. I do remember that.
Yes.
You said WrestleMania 15.
That's 5 so far. Counting this year. Six. That's 6 counting 15. Yeah.
Unforgiven 2000.
Yep.
I do remember that.
7.
That was when Austin came back. The redacted Rumble of 2004.
Yep.
that we don't talk about anymore. The other Rumble I was at with you, 2018.
Yep. I got left behind. Yep, that's 9.
That's right. You got left. You're left behind in the bathroom.
I mean, there's worse places to get left behind, but still, it didn't feel good.
Yeah, it's not like you got left 9. Behind. There's a Survivor Series.
2006.
2006.
Okay. That's the CM Punk one where he gets the big pop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's right. Punk, DX, and the Hardys. That's right. The Marks team.
I'll read through the rest.
A show that you and I just watched. Night of Champions 09.
Yep.
There's a Money in the Bank too, because we almost went 2013. We almost went. That's right. Oh God, and probably one of the
Battleground 2017.
That's right.
Extreme Rules 2019. Extreme Rules 2022. And then a very infamous pay-per-view took place in Philadelphia before the world shut down. Elimination Chamber 2020.
Right.
Pretty much on the doorstep of COVID. It was like one of the last things that happened.
It was.
Yeah. That was early March, I believe. It's like the weekend before everything shut down.
Right.
Takeover Philly 2018, of course, was a great show. That's got Gargano and Almas. And then this year's Stand and Deliver. 3 pay-per-views for WCW. Halloween Havoc 89, Halloween Havoc 92, and Slamboree 1994, like you mentioned, Tim. It was also the home, of course, of ECW. Started as Tri-State Wrestling in 89, then Eastern Championship Wrestling in 92, before becoming Extreme Championship Wrestling in 94. Home of many pay-per-views and big shows for ECW, including Barely Legal 97. 6 Ring of Honor Supercards have taken there. 4 Impact pay-per-views. Lockdown 09, Bound for Glory 11. A Night You Can't Miss 2019, and Multiverse United 2 in 2023. Numerous events for Evolve, a lot of TV shows. Following this, the Great American Bash, Ric Flair and Terry Funk continued their feud as did Sting and Muta. TV title got held up due to a controversial ending to their match between them. On August 5th, Funk and Muta attacked Sting after a tag match with Flair making the save. At a house show on 9/3, Muta defeated Sting in a no DQ match to become Undisputed TV Champion. Then at Clash 8, Sting and Flair defeated Muta and Dick Slater by DQ. Muta, Slater, and Funk beat down Sting and Flair, and it's a very infamous moment where Funk tried to suffocate Flair with a plastic bag. On September 16th, Jim Herd announced that Funk had been fined $100,000 and suspended indefinitely for the suffocation. A week later, Flair petitioned to have Funk's suspension lifted so he could get revenge on him. And a week after that, it was announced that Flair had paid the fine to get Funk's suspension lifted. It was announced that Bruno Sammartino would guest referee the match, and it was revealed that it would take place inside the Thunderdome cage and could only end when either Anderson or Gary Hart threw in the towel to end things. Both teams got promos leading up to the show. So that's the entire build to this match that we're watching here in Philadelphia, Halloween Havoc 89.
Yeah, the official gimmick name for Ole Anderson and Gary Hart are the designated Terminators. Oh, they are the only 2 people that could end the match, which, have Terminators now. We've got RoboCops coming. It's just everywhere for Jim Crockett Promotions.
We needed a cop and a half to really close it out.
Yes. We got a kindergarten cop. We can get a Turner and Hooch, maybe. We get the options are endless.
We could get Michael.
Yes.
To fly down
and just start dancing in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, with the white suit. Michael with a white suit with the Bee Gees playing.
Yeah.
Smash it all together. Uma Thurman.
God, Sting and Muta just going at it. What a man.
I like long-haired Muta had like special powers. When he cuts the hair, it's not as fun.
Oh, see, Muta to me will always have special powers. So like my wrestling fandom is very much like traditional Christianity. I have 3 number 1 favorites. And so that never at one time is one supersede the Godhead, so to speak. But 2 of my 3 are in this match, and that's the Great Muta and Sting. The third is The Undertaker. But of course, with what we just witnessed at WrestleMania this past Saturday, with the dream team of Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth, having Flair and Sting team up against J-Tex, it's very much similar with all of that's taking place. I've always loved the pairing of Terry Funk and Muta too. Gary Hart seems like the only person that's crazy enough to tame the Pearl of the Orient, and of course the sole proprietor of the Double Cross Ranch.
And when you look at how Starrcade plays out with the mini tournament thing, like they had 2 ready-made blow-offs right here. Like it's crazy to me that they didn't run Flair, Funk, and Sting Muta to co-headline Starrcade. It's right in front of them. I don't think Funk even makes it to Starrcade, but it's like it's crazy that those aren't the 2 big matches at that show. And it's not like they built something else hot. They just did the stupid round robin, which was like
right.
If you listen to the February episode of Through the Looking Glass, Dave Hall and I, we did some of our long form. We were originally going to do a Brock episode, but we blew that off based on news. So we took some of our mailbag questions and kind of expanded them to longer scenarios. And one of the ones we did that in that episode, what if Steamboat had actually won the 3rd match at Wrestle War and kept the NWA title and stayed champion through the rest of the year? And we kind of booked it out. And we actually had Muta and Steamboat. We got rid of the tournament at Starrcade because that was dumb. We actually had Muta Steamboat main event Starrcade for the world title, and Muta and Steamboat puts Muta over. Muta wins the world title.
I mean, I think anything would have been better than that tournament. Like I get it, but right. I don't get their obsession over the years of Starrcade being like a concept pay-per-view. It seems like growing up, I just figured this is the biggest show of the year by the name and the way they built it. It was meant to be, right? It was their first big one. This is crazy how many years that they spend on these weird ideas. Like the scaffold stuff is whatever. But, when you run that weird tournament, Battle Bowls, the WCW New Japan tag tournament, like it's just odd how many times they veer off and like put some kind of weird idea on their biggest show of the year.
Right. Now, you'll never hear me say a bad word about Battle Bowl ever. I know. I am 100% pro Battle Bowl, and if any promotion, WWE, AEW, NXT, MLW, doesn't matter. If any of you guys decide you want to bust out Battle Bowl, I'm buying tickets. I don't care.
Here's my truth moment. Prove me wrong. Battle Bowl is wrestling history's biggest dichotomy. It has the coolest name and the coolest concept.
Yes.
And it's like awesome. But it never fucking worked. Like maybe the first one was cool. Battle Bowl 93 to me is like the most boring freaking pay-per-view I've ever watched. The Slamboree 96 Battle Bowl is atrocious. And 91, 92 Starrcade, fine, but even then it's like, it's just, as a kid I was mind blown by. I was obsessed with the idea of it. But like watching them back, I'm like, it's like King of the Ring for WWF. It should be like the coolest, awesomest thing they ever do. And like most King of the Rings suck. And like I don't know what it is and why it doesn't work in construct, but to me, Battle Bowl is the same thing.
Right. So my first real like seminal wrestling memory is Starrcade 92 with Great Muta being in Battle Bowl, having the one-on-one match with Masahiro Chono for the big gold belt, losing to Chono, and then Muta winning at the end of the night and winning Battle Bowl. Spoiler alert, 32-year-old show we're talking about here, but still, like that was what set Muta up head and shoulders above it for me as a fan. It's kind of like my feel good. There's like everybody has like that one food that like nobody else likes, but for you it's like the comfort food. That's Starrcade 92 for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. Yeah, just Battle Bowl 93 is terrible. I will say that.
Right. I will give you that for sure. But I love it. Like the worst pizza is better than the best anything else.
Yeah, that's right. We all have
anything with Battle Bowl. But talking about Through the Looking Glass, I'm curious how that Steamboat booking would have impacted this match. Because now I'm as I'm watching this, I'm just removing Sting and the dream team of Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat versus J-Tex. That's crazy.
Yeah, I have to go back. I have to check my notes, but for everyone, check out the episode. Actually, we did a great WrestleMania episode this month, which you could check out. We rebooked some fun stuff, but yeah, we did a whole kind of where Steamboat stayed champion. We bobbed and weaved some title matches for him. I don't remember what we did. We might have kept this match and had Steamboat against somebody else, I think. But then eventually we did something in November, and then I forgot how it went, but check the episode out. And we ended up getting Muta and Steamboat at Starrcade with, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Duh. With,
right.
And Muta and Steamboat puts him over. So,
I guess the one match you could probably flirt with on this card is rebooking Luger and Flying Brian for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
It's a great match, though.
It is a great match. Like, I borderline almost picked it for this podcast, but I could not turn away from Sting and Great Muta, and of course, can't discredit the Funker, the Nature Boy,
and Bruno.
Yeah,
but I mean, Bruno,
as Muta finally gets electrocuted by the cage. But this might be just me being like a younger wrestling fan, but looking in this match, like, had Bruno shrunk a lot? Because I always envision Bruno being a big guy, but literally everyone is staring over this guy.
No, he was
Bruno
was short.
Yeah, Bruno was stocky.
Okay, he was jacked, but he wasn't tall at all. And I think they presented him as a big, towering bear, but
larger than life. Yeah,
not a big guy.
No.
Let me look and see if I can find the exact height here. 5'10".
So I'm shorter as tall as Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah,
you are. Yeah.
Patui.
It's interesting to me that the bulk of this match has really been focused more on Muta Sting. I feel like Flair Funk has almost been a backdrop.
Right. It's like you're letting them do all the crazy stuff on the outside and letting Sting and Muta just do their Sting and Muta stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely a transition, because honestly, at this point, this feud, I guess the New York knockout hadn't happened yet. I think that's a couple weeks after this.
That's November, yeah.
Yeah, so technically the Flair Funk feud isn't over yet. So
yeah.
But at least Flair could he knows that at least a guy like Funk, even 1989, I mean, he's not that far away from becoming, as JR and Jenny and the guy and starting D'Amato and then Sue's do on three-way. Funk didn't transition yet. I mean, Funk was crazy, but he hadn't transitioned into ECW Funk crazy for obviously another few years. But he was already reaching that point even here in '89.
But Funk here is in amazing shape.
Oh, he is.
He is just.
I think this is the end of his run of
shredded.
This is the last. He's kind of in shape, stud Terry Funk. I feel like after this is when he becomes to your point, it's got crazed old man, kind of the back nine Terry Funk. To me, this is the last time he's presented as and I'm talking in the States. I'm not sure in Japan what he was at after this, but I think for the most part in the States, to me, this is his final main event top guy run. After this, he's this crazy old, former champion Terry Funk in ECW in '94, WCW. He's not really a main event guy. He's kind of just that same maniac WWF. He's that way. So I feel this is kind of his hurrah as a top guy in the US.
Right. I agree.
Not to say he doesn't do great stuff after. It's just
but there's a level. I mean, you get older. Yeah. I mean, he gets older, and it's a different stage. I mean, when is he there in 93 in ECW?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he's doing commentary stuff like around like the very first, like right at the beginnings of like Eastern Championship Wrestling during like the TV title.
Yeah, because then he's in
run.
the night the line was crossed in February '94 as him and Sabu and Shane.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I think he's there pretty much. Well, he leaves a little bit, right? Because he goes to WCW.
No, he joins.
He's in there for the War Games.
Yeah, he joins a stud stable.
Yeah, and then I think he does both for a bit because Arn comes in to ECW, but then Funk goes away. But then he comes back. They do the Return of the Funker. He comes back in the Sandman's pants, the red, white, and blue pants. And then he's there. I think he's pretty much there when he comes back in '95 until '97-ish or whatever when he goes to WWF. I think he's pretty much there. He might dip in maybe one other time in '96, but I think he's pretty much there.
Yeah, well, he's there in '97. He wins the
he wins the belt to barely legal. But then that title reign sucks. Like I was pretty disappointed by it. He's barely on TV. He doesn't do much, and then just loses the belt to Sabu.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Oh, that match where they're picking fucking barbs out of their crotch. That match is just so disturbing. That Funk Sabu.
Born to be wired. Match. Yeah, we live watched that with Rocco on the.
That match.
Excuse Three-Way Dance is on North South here every other Thursday. We've covered a lot of cool stuff, and we just covered his latest run, which he again leaves. He's the Andy Flanagan of ECW. He comes in, they build these storylines around him, then he leaves.
Then he leaves.
But he's had the thing when he comes in and like attacks Dreamer for not picking him for his dream match.
Yeah, that's right.
He just keeps like attacking him, and then he decides they're credible, and then leaves. But we're kind of right around there on the show.
Flair locked in the Muta lock in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, it's cool. They mix up partners, dance partners.
Right.
And you get because Sting and Funk isn't a match you really ever get, like any kind of sustained stuff.
And while Flair and Muta have been tied up in the ring, Funk has literally tied Sting into the cage. And we've got Ole, rest in peace, Ole now, but Ole's up on the electrified cage trying to unhog tie the Stinger from the cage, which they made it sound like this big electrified cage. Literally 5 minutes ago, Sting was a whole torso out of the top of the cage, not getting shocked at all. Oh,
it's a great double team beating now on Flair here.
Stuffed pile driver.
Yeah.
I'll never not notice how Flair takes pile drivers. He's got to like do a handstand.
Gotta protect that neck.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a stack of dimes at this point.
Dole's working overtime over there.
He is trying so hard. There it is.
He's out.
Say Terry Funk had to turn into a Boy Scout, had his proper knots.
Yeah, Sting gonna come in like Tarzan. Oh no, okay. I don't know if he was gonna swing in on the rope.
Yeah, Stinger, let's go, baby.
Philly crowd loving it.
God, Sting's so great.
This pay-per-view is also the infamous dynamic dudes getting booed the fuck out of the arena, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Philly just proving their point once again that they don't take no gruff from nothing.
Nope, even in the late 80s, before their reputation really preceded
them. They become Shane's home years later, It's funny. Oh, God, JR just said Muta's going to be fried wonton if he touches the electrified.
It was a different time, man. Yes. It's a different time.
Oh, God. Just let it go. That's all
God. Good thing him and Jesse weren't really together in like the late 80s. Like by the time they get together in 93, 92, the culture's changing a little bit. They still get some shit in, but the two of them are real bad in the 80s.
Well, I mean, obviously the worst Jesse is what's that? The Science main event.
What is this? Roots? That one?
Yeah, the Hercules. When he calls Hercules Kunta Kinte or something stupid like it. Something ridiculous.
Oh,
it was something ridiculous. Fried wonton. Oh, God.
Flair's
Muta's
put all the
in
work
such
on this
great shape.
knee.
I agree with
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Tim. Like Muta with the long hair, it has just this like extra level of badassery, you know?
For sure.
Well,
You know,
he's like shredded here too. They all are. I mean, everyone talks about WF being on the gas like in the late 80s. I mean, like I don't know if these guys what they were doing,
Well,
but
the
they're all
thing,
pretty
you know what
fucking
the
shredded.
Well, the funny thing is, JR, the difference is in WWF, all the shredded guys are fucking like Warlord, Barbarian,
These
like
guys
big
are more lean.
All the guys, they're all like 250, but they got like 1% body fat, but they're not
they're all
like
ridiculously
fucking
shredded.
ripped. Yeah, I mean
just,
Luger.
When
Luger
Flair's like the fattest guy in the ring, that tells you something. Like tells you how shredded they all are.
And like Luger, they just laugh off, you know.
Bruno moves around like a video game referee. Like he kind of goes forward and back to the side.
The AI is not quite clicking with Bruno.
I know.
He's also got a very old Italian man outfit on.
He really does. I don't know if he's about to referee a match or come out to greet the tables at his pizzeria.
Or here you go. I'm gonna throw the old Italian get together. We're going to a time. That was the old Italian people word for like a party. We got a time at Uncle Guido's.
We got a time, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he definitely looks like the owner of the longest standing pizza shop in the town that he just recently handed over to his son.
Who's gonna bomb it? He looks like the inspiration for like Mario and Mike Tyson's Punch Out as the referee.
Yes.
Glass Joe.
He's been pretty innocuous as the ref, though.
Yeah, there's the finish. Gary Hart tries to get himself injected into the match. Ole hits him with a right hand of God, and Gary Hart coughs up the towel and throws it onto Bruno, therefore terminating the match.
Here, we're going to close out with another 1994 movie reference. Ole, after this, headed over to play the role of Chet Steadman in Rookie of the Year.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Actually played by Gary Busey, but I mean, great match. I think it holds up for sure. The crowd atmosphere is awesome. And again, like to me, this feels like such a natural springboard to Starrcade, but I guess they used the Clash as a blow off instead. So whatever. But it felt like this should have been end of year, Flair Funk final showdown, and then Sting Muta final showdown would have been a great way to close that out.
Yeah.
But this is awesome, Tim. Thanks for picking this one. This is a really good one.
Of course.
It's different for sure.
Yeah.
And it closes out this huge Philadelphia weekend. What better timing could it have been for us here on the show to close out Philly weekend with Havoc 89? So, all right. Like I said earlier, you can check out everything at PTB Nation Wrestling Network and on North South Connection, both video and audio. Check out Not the Toolman, Tim Taylor, on a lot of stuff on North South Connection, both behind and in front of the scenes. And Scott, of course, the purveyor of the PlayStation Wrestling Network. A lot of great content there as well. Scott will be back in 2 weeks. Going to load up the bus, head on to another town, and then a new guest as well, of course. So be sure to subscribe. I want to thank you for all the support here, of course, across all of our shows. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care. Talk to you then.